Hello everyone, welcome to Slipjoint Sawyer. Today we're doing another restoration and review of a Swiss Army knife by Victorinox, and this is the GAK, otherwise known as the German Army knife. Now this one was introduced in 1976 for the German Army, it's a government issue, and it ran all the way till about 2003. So you can see it's got a bit of history to it. This one is pretty filthy, not gonna lie. There's a bit of wood stuck in the corkscrew. I mean, I've had this for 2 days. I've not touched it because I wanted to do a clean-up video on it. The action is pretty poor on the blade. It's really stiff to open, and there's barely any snap on that as well. You can see you can get all, well, you have to push it closed. So we'll see what we can do about that when we're sort of cleaning it. But let's take an overall look at the knife, and then we'll check out the progress at the end. So it's a 108mm closed design. So that's a unique size for Victorinox. They didn't make a whole lot of these models. They did make a civilian issue of these knives. They were called the Safari series, and it had just red nylon scales, or the heat printed scales. But it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, just over 4¼ inches. It's 108mm. You do get a lanyard hole on the back here. This one is a 2-layer design. It comes with the main spear point blade, and it also comes with this cap lifter, flathead screwdriver, and a saw. Now there is one part missing from this. The standard models do have a little guard that goes over the saw. It didn't come with this one, but I did get it really cheap on the secondary market because it needed cleaning up. You can see it's pretty grotty inside those. See, there's just no snap on anything. It just sits like that. But it feels like there will be snap, that the springs feel good. So we're going to sort of work on that today. You do also get a punch and a corkscrew at the back. The punch I actually can't get out with my fingernail, so we'll have to use pliers to get that. But the scales, you can see you've got the German Army insignia there, and nothing else on the back. This nice sort of grippy material. But we're going to go about taking the scales off very carefully, don't want to break them, and then we're going to go through and clean the knife. So let's try the blade technique for taking the scales off. So this is just an old battered camper that I've got lying around. I took the scales off because, believe it or not, holding onto the rivets provides you a little bit more grip when using it. So I thought that would be the best port of action. And I like to stick the blade between the scales and the liner, like so, and just very, very gently sort of prise up. Obviously these are going to be old, so I don't want them to crack or break. Just very, very carefully just prising them up. Now I believe these only have three, there we go, 3 rivets like the main ones. You can see here how they're sort of pinned on. Yeah, it's exactly the same as a 91. You can see just a larger frame. The scales are actually in pretty good condition. They look, they're going to snap on really nicely. You might put them on with a little bit of a little tiny bit of super glue just to hold them down, but nothing really major can be needed with these. They just need a bit of a scrub up. But let's take the other one off as well. This one looks like it's going to come off a little bit easier. Yeah, ping that off. See, there can we see any sort of date in this. It doesn't look like they were dated. You've just got them sided 1 and 2, but I mean, it should be pretty obvious which side goes on which, considering this one's got a big huge cutout on it, but never mind about that. But there we go. Let's pop that to one side, and let's see if we can get some of these tools open. Yeah, so you can see how stuck the spring is because there's no rebound on that at all in that position. And you can see how, see if we can get a bit more light down here, you can see how grotty it is in there. There we go, that bit of wood just fallen out, I think. No, there we go, get lost. But yeah, it's pretty grim in there. What I'm going to do though is put these back down for now, or like just a little bit, just so there's a bit of a gap. And you can see now that I've opened them and the spring's moved. We can sort that out. If you push that back down, you can see that it's gone. So it's just a stiff spring, it looks like. Let's open both these blades up. And that is actually dull, so don't worry about my hands. And we're just going to get a sort of cotton swab. I'm just going to take all the cotton wool off one end, just so it's more like a, you know, just like a little stick, so it'll fit in the channel. I'm just literally just pulling it off with my hands. Nothing exciting to see here. Come on. Like so. And then we're just going to sort of work into the, sorry, not the camera. We're just going to work into the channel and see if we can get, and it's still too thick. Brilliant. See if we can get any of that junk that's down in the channel out before we put it in the ultrasonic cleaner. Anything we can do that's going to save time using the cleaner, but it does make a very annoying noise. But it does do a fantastic job as well, mind. Okay, that should be good. Get off. So we're just going to sort of work in there, try and get some of that junk out. Get right in the bottom here, just drag it through. I mean, that's one drag through there. It's grotty in there. This one it's definitely been used and carried by someone, maybe even someone in the actual military. But I imagine, obviously these are military issue, these green ones, so it would have been at some point. But it looks like the person that had this actually used it for what it was meant for, wasn't just using it for little tiny pointless jobs. Strange. Moisture coming out of that. Sorry for the banging. Okay. I think the best action for this is going to go straight. Oh, you can already see a bit of snaps come back from that already. All I've done is wipe the pivot. Not for that one though. We're going to bung it straight in the ultrasonic cleaner I've got off to the side, and while that's sort of going around, we'll go back cleaning the scales. So I'm just going to bung that in. Let's turn that on for a couple minutes. So apologies for the sort of the noise that makes. I know it sucks, but we'll just pretend it's not there. Yeah. Okay, let's get to work on the scales. So the best thing I like to do for that is to get a little bit of hot soapy water. There we go. I've got some just here, and it literally just is in a spray can top, but I find them really useful, so that's what I'm going to use it for. Just want to put the toothbrush in there, and we're just going to give each of these just a bit of a scrub on the top. I don't think they need to go in the ultrasonic cleaner, these. They are sort of in pretty good nick, to be honest. Let's bring that down so you guys can see a little bit better. There we go. Really easy for you guys to see, but if I do knock the camera when it's like this, apologies, because it is quite close to what I'm doing. A bit more of this. And we're going to clean in that groove where the corkscrew sits, because that always collects junk, as you saw from the knife I put in the ultrasonic. Sort of going. We'll see how that's turned up. Got a little bit of cloth here, give that a bit of a wipe. Okay. Now am I happy with how that looks? Yes, I'm very happy with that. That looks brand new. To one side, and then we'll get to work on the front scale. Thank God that's finished and turned off. Give that another wipe. There we we go, let's clean this off while I'm here. And of course that cloth isn't absorbent. You can see there, looks really good, nice and clean both sides. I'll put that to one side. We'll just sort of clean away that bit I'm using, find a cloth that actually will absorb the water. Okay, there we go, goes to one side, and let's take a look at the knife and the ultrasonic and see how that got on. I'm just going to dry it off camera because I've just dried that top and I don't have to do it again. I'm not going to open anything up, I'm just going to sort of wipe the exterior and then we'll take a look. So it already looks like it's done a pretty good job. Is it perfect? No, but you can see we're getting snap back in this tool. That definitely needs some work in there. The punch, I can just about open it now, whereas I couldn't before. Let's have a look at these blades. Still pretty grotty. The only bad thing about this ultrasonic cleaner is it's literally this much too long to fit the knife in to get it to clean. So I'm just going to try and have these blades open like this, and I'm just going to pop it back in for a little bit longer. And while it does that for the second time round, I'm just going to pause the video and we'll come back when that's done. Otherwise we're just going to be sort of sat here listening to it buzz while, you know, we all think about our poor life choices, becoming knife collectors, and why we spend so much money on sharp metal. But yeah, that's our choice. We enjoy it, so who cares? So I'm going to pause it there and I'll be back with you in a minute. Okay, we're back. The ultrasonic is just finished. I just gave it 2 lots of 5 minutes in there. And the water is absolutely filthy. I'm just going to dry this off and then we'll see how that's improved the knife. And if the action is still pretty poor, yeah, it feels it. I've got some warm soapy water with some sort of washing up solution like Dawn or Fairy, whichever part of the world you're in. And I'm just going to sort of flush the pivots with that, and it's really easy to do, and it's the best way I've found to really sort of clean the pivots of Swiss Army knives. Now, yes, the ultrasonic cleaner is fantastic, but if you think you can't move the joint round and round while it's in there going round or being cleaned, and this is just the best way that I found to do it. It does say actually on the newer Victorinox products on the instructions, this is how you to clean the pivots, and I mean it does make sense to me. So it's just, as I mentioned, warm soapy water, and what you're going to do is take the knife, bury one half of it in the water so it's submerged, and then work the other part of it back and forth. Is this sharp? No, it's not going to cut me if it hits me. And you just want to work the joint like this as much as you can, and then if you can open it while it's in there, that would be even better. It's not really long enough, this tub, to do that, but we'll do our best with it. But I mean, just from that little bit you can see the action is pretty much there, and we'll do the same with the saw. This is what I mean, you don't really need to do a lot to a Swiss Army knife to get it back to it being its full sort of working self, and that's pretty much all it's going to need, I would say. Let's just get rid of this and try not to spill it everywhere. Just dry my hands and the knife, and then we'll take a look and see how much that sort of improved the action, and then the results we got from the ultrasonic for inside and sort of the channels and the inside of the liners, that sort of stuff. Okay, so if you remember before, when in the sort of the run through the ultrasonic, the action was really stiff. It didn't sort of snap on its own. Since that, and flushing the pivots, you can see we have some decent action. That's got good action on that blade, and that's got pretty decent action on that as well. And let's see if that sort of rectified these. Yeah, that one's looking good. Yeah, much better. So that could do with a little bit of work, that one. Can hear bits and pieces in there, but see, it's got a little bit of wobble. Is that on the front one? Yeah, that's on the And you can see you just move this a little tiny bit and it sort of loosens that, or tightens the spring up, I should say. So you can see, here we go. Here we go. It's looking good. A little bit with that one. Excellent. Tools are looking good. Let's have a look down in the channels. I mean, you can see it's night and day compared to where we started. That ultrasonic does do a very good job, especially of getting down to the bits you can't get to. Even the bit on the back here that was absolutely filthy is pretty clean now. And we're just going to do the finishing touches really to the externals and the little bits that are left with a dry-ish toothbrush. So I'm just going to sort of work that in there. Let's open up the punch as well, if I can, while the other blade's open. And work inside that channel. Get all that sort of much grot out as you can. Never forget this bit on the back here. Just a general scrub around that. Just sort of, I know this is not going to get to the bottom, but it'll get off anything that's loose on the top of these pivots here, and you can just about get some of the protruding area, and then just, oh, excuse me, and then bits on there. Okay, let's wipe all that away, or should I say just smear it round on the board, and let's get these blades sort of wiped off and get it dried off, and then we're going to work on the action where I'll sort of lubricate the joints, clip the scales back on, that sort of thing. And then after that we will go about cleaning up that main blade. So it's pretty scratched up, as you can see. I'm tempted to leave it as it is because it does have a really good shine, and just give it a nice edge, which I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. I don't want to go about getting the polishing out for something that's, yes, it's scratched, but it shows use. There's history there, shows that someone's used and loved it. So we're going to leave that as it is. Okay. So what I'm going to go and do now is put this out in the sun for 5 to 10 minutes, just to get the sort of the moisture out of the pivot, before we put any lubrication there, and then I will come back with you when that's done. Okay, so we're back. It's had time to dry. What we're going to do now is lubricate all the joints. So I'm going to start with the corkscrew and the punch. Just make sure these are dry in there. Yeah. Now, a lot of people don't particularly like this, which is quite thick, but I really like the Victorinox multi-tool oil for Victorinox Swiss Army knives. Yes, it collects dust quicker than the thinner oils do, but I feel like this gives the best sort of action and sort of longevity to the tools. But I need to get some more of this. I haven't got much left, so we're just going to put a little dot down in that channel, a little dot down in that channel, and then we'll sort of just work those back and forth. Now, although this Victorinox oil is great for Swiss Army knives, it's terrible for normal traditional slip joints. So don't ever put any on a Barlow like I did. It completely ruins the action. You've got to start again from scratch. But for this, it's perfect. Okay. Now, a lot of people put their oil at the top here. I like to open the blade and put it on the inside. I'm just going to put normally put a little bit more than what we need, because obviously there's no lubrication this at all, and we'll just sort of hold it down for gravity and then work this back and forth, just like this. And there we have our action back. Excellent on that one. And then on this main blade, nice bit of oil in there. Put the lid on that so I don't end up knocking it over. Put that to one side. And that's, I mean, you can hear the snap on this. Excellent action now. Really smooth. Let's go and put the scales back on. So we'll start with this side. And I'm hoping that these sort of just snap on really nice and are held on there tight enough without me having to go and use any glue on them, because I would rather not. These ones are going to be stiff to get on. Let's try and press them on. This one's going to need a bit more persuasion. Use some leverage, and no, it's going to need the vise to press these on. But when you do press them on the vise, unfortunately I can't show you on camera because I'd have to move the whole setup, but put a cloth or something soft between the grips so you're not damaging the scales, and just go very, very gently, just making sure you're getting the bits that you want to press on and you're not actually, you know, just putting marks in the scales or whatever. But that's it, they're pressed on. See there, no gaps. And I think there's only one final thing for it apart from the sharpening, which we will do in a moment's time. In fact, let's do the sharpening first before we're going to do what we thought we were going to do. So let's get the stone and stuff ready. Here is the base, and I'll go and get the stone now. And if like magic, a stone appears. Just going to get that. Now this stone has been soaking, well, since I started doing this video, so it's been about half an hour in total length with the pauses, which is plenty of time. You can see the water sat on there very nicely. What you don't want is it to keep absorbing into the stone and just going dry very quickly. And we're just going to put a nice edge on this. Let's move that out of the way so I don't knock into it. And we're just going to sort of work it like this. Might take a little bit of doing on this one because, I mean, it was so flat. There was practically no edge on it at all. And what you don't want to do is take off too much metal or do too much of a low angle. And by that I mean you don't want to have the blade too much flat towards the surface, or you end up with this wicked scary sharp edge, but as soon as you cut anything with it, it'll go dull because it'll be really not brittle, but it won't be as strong as having a thicker edge on there. And for being a working knife like this is, I would say 20 degrees, so 40 degrees with both sides is perfect for that. But we're just going to stop there, give it a wipe off with a cloth and see how the edge is coming along. See, we are getting an edge on there, but you can see how blunt this was. You can see those bits shining up. If I can get it to focus. Just down here. Don't know if you can make that out. I can see, and up here, where it's actually been worn so much that it's practically as sharp as a spoon at this point. So we're just going to keep going. Making sure we're checking every so often how the edge is getting on. I'm going to do this off the camera and I will show you because I need to be able to see it in the light. We do have an edge coming back. There is a few flat spots around this curved area here. You can just about see them at the top here. We need to work on that bit a bit more. This stone I'm using, in case you're interested, I'm not sure if it's all over Lidl, including Europe, but in the UK this stone was £6.99 and this was generously sent to the channel by Sean T, or Naked Sean, you may know him. So Sean, I love the stone, it's absolutely fantastic. It's great for me to learn how to freehand. can see edge coming along nicely there. Still got a little bit at the top here, but I can actually feel some sort of sharp edge on there now. The tip needs some major work. It's flat pretty much at the end. So we're just going to focus our attention on that for a moment. But yeah, $6.99 for this stone in Lidl. Is it the best stone in the world? No, mainly because it's marked 6,000 and 1,000. And the 6,000 is the green. It's not 6,000, it's more like 600. So they seem to have mislabeled that. But apart from that, 600 and 1,000 grit is absolutely perfect for a beginner stone. It does the job. I can get some crazy sharp edges with 600, 1,000, and then a little bit of stropping, and you can get hair popping sharp. You don't need all these fancy stones. Will I get some diamond ones at some point? Yeah, 100%, but I wanted to sort of learn how to freehand, and doing it on a nice budget stone like this is perfect. So the little brand is actually Parkside Sharpener. I'll show you the box in a little bit. Let me get this finished. How's that tip looking up there? It's getting there. It does look like this has had like a re-profiled tip at some point, because it's not completely symmetrical like a normal Victorinox blade, but we're getting there with the tip. So it's like when they originally sharpened it, they didn't go all the way up. They sort of left the very tip quite dull, so I'm having to do that sort of original sharpen now instead of just touching it up. Must be nearly there by now. Still a bit on that, the sort of the curve up at the end. Just being very, very stubborn. Razor sharp down here. I'm just having real trouble with that curved section at the end. There we go. Right, got the end done. Let's turn this over to the 1,000. Lovely, splashed all over everywhere. Moisten it up a bit. Might seem like a no-brainer when you're doing this, excuse me, but make sure you dry your hands after you wet the stone. Don't do what I did and leave your hands wet and then the knife slides out everywhere. Now for the 1,000, I'm not putting any pressure on this at all. I'm pretty much just letting the knife do the work. And I don't want to be taking off any more material. It's literally just to sort of almost hone the edge. Let's have a look at that. Oh yeah, that's getting there. Another couple of passes and we should be golden. Let's see how we're getting on. Got a little bit of paper up here. Yeah, not bad. It still needs a little tiny bit more. Just got a bit too much of a toothy edge near the tip. So we're just going to focus our attention on that like we did when we were sharpening. You can almost feel it at the tip, the teeth digging into the stone, whereas on the rest of the blade it just sort of glides over. Okay, it's going to be good for that. Let's put away the stone and we can do some stropping. Let's move this water so don't knock it everywhere. Okay, get the strop out now. I do have a bigger strop in the house, but I just use, while I'm out in the workshop, this little one, but it's got the grips and you can really sort of hold it. And I'm just going to do nothing too major. Just a little bit of stropping on there. And we'll see how that is. I mean, if that isn't sharp, I don't know what is. Excellent stuff. Close that up, and to finish it off, we're going to add a lanyard. So we've got this nice leather strip. I sort of soaked it in some leather balm, and we're just going to sort of put it through and tighten a knot. Nothing fancy, because it's a military style army knife. I just thought a nice sort of brown leather lanyard would finish that off really nicely. Nothing too nuts. And we're just going to tie it in a knot. Not even going to be too bothered about which way the leather's twisted. I'm just going to leave it rustic looking. Just bring that a bit closer and pull that tight. Nice little leather lanyard on the end there, nothing too nuts. Reasonable size, easy to pull in and out of the pocket. I'm going to leave them tassels on there, I think. So once I cut them off a little bit. Let's make them a little bit shorter, I think. Maybe at an angle as well, that'd be cool. Let's go for... Get rid of that. There we go, the finished result. Victorinox GAK, German army knife. Restored, sharpened, cleaned, reviewed. There we go, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this restoration and review of a Swiss army knife for the German army, government issue 0.8770.04. Please be sure to like, subscribe and ring that bell for notifications, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out. Matt's got a channel, man sharp as a blade. Slipjoint Sawyer is the name he made. Pocket knives until they flow with flair. Restorations done with craftsman's care.